I'm procrastinating. How about you? Are you procrastinating as well? And if you're not doing the streaming, if you end up here hanging out, chatting with me and such, well then I think that qualifies as you procrastinating too. If you have something other than this that you should be doing anyway, you know, much less so than 1,000,000% of the population is is more or less free from doing things that they have to do. And it's just like, what am I gonna feel like doing today? Well, what I feel like doing today is maybe stop being such a Eric and get an important piece of work done. The important piece of work I need to get done is a manifesto on individuality, identitarianism, groupism, and cognitive function type. And how that resolves all of your questions about groupism and identity politics and all that stuff. And the core message is yes, there is a box you can put a person into, and it will be the best box ever. It can replace all your other stupid boxes that are ontologically assaultive and solve the problem of groupism forever. It's a wonderful thing called being correct in analyzing expressions of human consciousness. That's the work I should be doing. But what I realized when I started thinking about it more this morning, after I started thinking about some last night, I'm still mad at Greta Gerwig for what's, among other things, fundamentally an assault on, like, heterosexual sexual dynamics. Not that that should carry over outside of the bedroom at all, but and that's part of the problem. Can people don't correctly draw lines around things. Like, look at Jordan Peterson trying to infer a bunch of general meaning from things specific to sexual behavior and then put that onto people's ontologies. It's wicked, wrong, and ill advised. But do people listen to Eric? No, they don't. But that is in large part because Eric doesn't try. And Eric has kind of a responsibility to try sometimes. That means no angry rant that lets anybody get satisfaction from me shitting on somebody they don't like. I need to put together bullet points, maybe some pictures to make it more fun for the kids. You know, people like pictures. I like pictures too. I'm a kid too. I'm not denying that I prefer videos that are more, have more pictures in them. I'm not just somebody talking, lecturing with bullet points. So what other work should I be doing instead of this? Oh, let me count the works. So many works need to be accomplished. that I barely know where to begin. I don't have a lighter, and that's a problem. Not having a lighter is a real problem. It prevents you from even beginning the cigarette smoking process, let alone completing it. Now, there is one piece of work that I have to do today that I'm hopeful people here on the live stream will help me with, and that's going poo. At some point during the stream this morning, I hope to poo, and I can check one thing off of my list. Other things I need to do, like put in the cat door over there. I need to finish getting gray stuff off of the wall. Lots of things. Some of which seem like tasks that I'm more likely to get done or something on speed. But I've got really mixed feelings about it, you know? Still, I guess maybe Rachel and I will go to LA in the next couple of days. See Delilah. And then, I love you too, Rachel. And then, what do you think about that idea of maybe going to LA in the next couple of days? At the end of next week is when my Vyvanse comes due. But I don't know. I do feel a sense of like things piling up that I need to get to. Is closing in on December 9th sooner than we think. And that wall has to be done. It is additionally the case that if we get a bunch of snow at some point, it's going to make it very difficult to work on that wall. So I need to get on that. It's like there are times in a person's life when one's like thoughts of, well, maybe we're better off without amphetamines, you know? Maybe life's happier that way. But then life says, yeah, but Eric, what about these things you need to get done? Now, see, that makes me feel like kind of more of a legitimate reason to get amphetamines is when I have a variety of things that I really need to get done. There aren't things that I'd like to get done. There are things that I need to get done. So, I don't want to make snow cones from my house now. I don't like snow cones in general. I believe snow's good and cones are good, but never the twain shall meet. So yeah, manifesto. I need to make a manifesto that explains how cognitive functions solves all groupism by giving everybody a group they can put a person in that meaningfully can inform them and is accurate and fair and is based on who they actually are, not on some other meaningless grouping. When I think Mexican snow cone, I immediately think tamarindo. One of the gross flavors that Mexicans, for some reason, like. One of the many gross things that Mexicans, for some reason, like. There was this Mexican ice cream store. Better for people to fight for no reason and to fight and think they have a reason is completely bullshit. The Mexican ice cream store had the grossest flavors of ice cream. You know, like purple. Purple, but it wasn't grape, you know? It was like eggplant and cheese or something. Mexicans, that's not how you make ice cream. But there's lots of delicious Mexican food too. You know, just the other day, Rachel introduced me to Jalisco's. And I never had one before. We need to figure out why people are afraid of cognitive function theory and try to mitigate that. Well, it upends their full throttle expression of self in a conflicting frame. So if you're a lefty who's convinced that conservatives are the problem, but yeah, sure, MBTI is possible, but people don't is popular in the wrong way, right? People don't put two and two and two and two and two. There's a lot of twos, right? They don't put them all together. That's why I need to make a manifesto that explains that racism, etc., all of those things are the consequence of not having the right map for human consciousness. We desperately, each of us, for whatever reason, wisely or unwisely, we want to put people in a box. We want to know who you are in an NI way without actually experiencing you and knowing you that way, right? And the problem is there aren't any correct boxes except one. So, right. And the thing is, the core message of the manifesto is this. Look, you know, some of us are fundamentally who we are is a person who knows things and who trusts and values what they know, either from their experience or their intuition. To some extent, maybe from both. And there are some of us who are fundamentally that we value and think and trust our action, that we're adaptive enough that we don't need to know. We will take action on the fly to make things as they ought to be, right? From our perspective. Some of us fundamentally take a deliberative approach, that we want time to think or feel, to deliberate subjectively or objectively, or both, about a subject matter before taking any kind of action. Some of us fundamentally interface. We want to get our hands dirty with dynamic partners as of a system, either the unique logic of a physical system or the social logic of human relations. So each of us is fundamentally one of these orientations to the world. We can establish with basic reasoning, without any shadow of a doubt, these manners of attention are different from one another. We can give examples of a deliberative process versus a knowledge process. We can give examples of an action process versus an interface process. And we can draw clear, bright line distinctions between those different ways of paying attention. And the thing is, the question everybody should ask right now, is, well, ways to do what? Paying attention in ways to do what? Well, it's in ways to make sure that our expectations match our realities, that we are correctly anticipating and predicting where we need to, that reality is not just constantly surprising us with random shit, right? So to close that gap between expectations and reality is the prime directive, and each configuration of ways of paying attention is one strategy towards attaining that goal, which we call the prime directive. So the reason it solves for racism and everything else is we need to understand that because of the prime directive, each of us has a compelling need and desire to put people into a box so that we can predict and know them without experiencing them first. There are lots of different ways in which we use various cues to put people in a box. The thing is, all the boxes we have consistently put people in throughout history, be it gender, race, age, ability level, etc. Physical appearance is a huge one in contemporary society. And the thing is, none of those boxes are fair to any of us. Each of us, in every one of those instances, is reducing a complex individual to a label that we create subjectively our own definition of, and then impose upon another person in the form of ontological assault that's ongoing all the time as people project their frames of reference without any way of knowing what they are, and behave as human beings will, that they need some way to map who you are before experiencing you. So the thing is, I've got a great piece of, here's the good news. There is a box you can put people in that will allow you to successfully predict and know them before you engage with them, and that is not ontologically assaultive because it's descriptively correct. It's non-normative because for every attentional advantage a person has, there's a corresponding attentional disadvantage. Society may not be fair in the sense that it may favor certain attentional advantages over others, but regardless, typology is fair in that there is no attentional advantage without a corresponding disadvantage. So once we know all of this, and you want to put someone in a group from now on, instead of being confused when that black person's not like you think black persons are supposed to be, or that woman's not like you think women are supposed to be, if you can know their personality type, you can actually know their strengths and limitations based on a group label. It will allow you to have a functional alternative to all of the other attempts to put people under group labels that are ontologically assaultive. That's my manifesto right there. I just said it all basically. And that's why part of the reason why I'm live streaming is because I wanted to practice saying it, you know. No, I agree with you, Carlos. Presentation is much more of an interface mindful form of action deliberation. Action deliberation, the reason we know it's action deliberation is because I complete the whole thing, present it, and then get response. My my thing that I'm doing isn't responsive real time like this is. This is an interface slash action deliberation thing. This is like the most action deliberation slanted form of interface that it can be. You guys just get to type words and I get to do all the talking, you know. Thanks, Rubenar. I appreciate it. Thanks, Carlos. Understanding my cognitive stack, Trickster, helps my confidence a lot. You know what? I don't know if I wouldn't have put it that way, but it probably is true for me as well. Um, like knowing that I'm FI polar helps me prioritize my own subjective feelings more than I would have otherwise. I think that's probably true, and that helps me be more confident in asserting and defending my feelings. I'm more. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that that practice run of that manifesto was the video I want to make, but it's like I do feel responsible to make that video because it's it's like cheap and easy for me to rant about the problem without presenting the solution. I think I heard a cat out here. Maybe it wasn't a cat. And I guess the core idea of the manifesto that I hadn't really myself put all the twos together is that people, it's the prime directive. People do need a box to put people in. So that's why they keep trying to put people in boxes. Like, oh well, why are you different than me, Eric? Well, you have a disorder. It's called ADHD. That's why you're different than me. Well, the thing is, the first thing I need to do is something that's within my capability of doing, which is to say, I need to do a nice, clear, NI, you know, defensible response to identitarianism and other forms of groupism that links to cognitive functions as a solution via the warrant that I explained, which is that cognitive functions also explains why people need a box to put people in. It's because what defensible typology does, it's because of the prime directive. And that was a key thing that was missing from every other understanding of typology is this clarity that a personality type is a configuration that functions as a strategy towards something. And I didn't make up this idea that people have a compelling need to close the gap between expectations and realities. I read that from some guy who's known as a big genius or whatever. I just called it the prime directive. And it opened up all of cognitive functions for me. It's like, okay, well, now that you can understand it as a strategy towards something, you have a criterion, which you need to have a model. You've got these different configurations. They need to be all attempting to do the same thing, but what what else is there in life that you could say is a directive for all the types equally so? They're just in that they each can be a different strategical configuration towards solving the same fundamental goal. Well, that's what it is. And the thing is, how do you establish something like this argumentationally? Well, my basic argumentational strategy for these sort of things like cognitive functions is the metaphrase, etc., is here are my operational definitions of what these terms mean. If you can come up with another example of a thing that meets this criterion, then you falsified my claim that this uniquely meets this criterion. You know? Until then, until and unless, then we should go with my set of arguments. Now, that might to some people not seem like a very robust standard, right? Argument. I knew I heard a cat around here. What's going on? Sounds like maybe cat conflict. Get out of here. You get out of here, black and white cat. Shoo. I shooed the black and white cat away. My presentations take too long. Sounds like a real problem you got there, neighbor. A real problem. Yeah. I don't tolerate mixed race cats. Oh, Eric. You done it again. Thanks, darling. Okay. It is cold out this morning for just wearing my boxers. I mean, I do have a jacket on, obviously. No, I haven't advanced. They were one of the cats probably trouble, or the black and white cat was making that like we're gonna fight sound. So all I did was enforce peace among the cats. You can't blame a man for enforcing peace among the cats and making that black and white cat go away. We do not need another cat. We do not want another cat. I am not open to that cat somehow quartering its way into our life. Two cats is already so many cats. Because trouble counts as like five cats. He's five cats worth of hassle. Imagining somehow us ending up with a third cat. Oh God. No. The we have to. Well, see, that is the cat from down the road that I just shoot away. I think it's the neighbor's cat over here, maybe. But part of the reason why I think that is their dog came over yesterday, and she's a very sweet dog, and she came over, and I pet her over the little fence thing, railing thing here, and then I walked around and to the driveway to pet her, and then the Trouble was sitting on the front porch there with me, and the dog didn't see Trouble until she came over to where I was. And then as soon as she saw Trouble, she just turned around and walked the other direction slowly away. She didn't bother the cat at all. So, really well behaved dog. A super sweet dog. This black dog that the neighbors have. I was very happy to. Well, I mean, I'm going to make a video. The point is, I need to make a good video. I need to make a good video that's succinct. It doesn't necessarily have. I have to be realistic about my own goals. Like, I'm not going to make a perfectly produced video that would maximize the possibility of the video going viral, quote unquote, But I will record it with a nice background, and I will then probably take that video inside and put up like bullet points that go along with what I'm saying. Try to make it as succinct as possible, cover all the ground I just covered. Really? You made a video about COVID and went viral? I made so many videos about COVID and none of them did. But because I think the reason is I need to stop injecting anger into my videos. It only appeals to people who want to be angry about things. And that's a big part of the problem. Is so many people want to be angry about so much stuff, It prevents us from having a reasonable conversation about things. And I'm part of that problem. I'm not trying to position it as anything other than that. But I can aim towards being less part of that problem, The song in my head. Of course it's wide-eyed. If it's okay, wide-eyed, tongue-tied, 3, 4, hey. I wanna live in your goddamn veins, if that's okay. Yeah, the wide-eyed, tongue-tied, 3, 4. Ooh, ooh. Running out of things to say on a presentation. I've never experienced that. it's always for me, how can I make this NI instead of saying so much, Life doesn't have a meaning, it's inherently a gift. Find meaning in the absurdity and meaninglessness. I can't remember the rapping part in that very well. I do remember the rapping part in my strangely favorite Johnny song, which is "You Got a Man." It's not his most sophisticated song. It's not his best song, but I just love it so much. Um, you know, rubber bands on my hands. I spent about half my advance. I spent half my advance just trying to get you. You taste like warm apple pie. You say you're single, you lie. I saw them texts from that guy, man, whatever. So fuck me. Don't give a fuck. Just love me. Don't give me love. You can try to make me think that I'm the only one, but I know. You got it, man. That's a great song, too. I also got that one in my head now, although I didn't before. For me, I always want to get to one of the reveals, angles, moments, or jokes I have in store. Why does that one remind me of the Jake Paul song, It's Everyday, Bro? I don't know that song. This world values financial and personal impacts above all. Well, but I'm not looking really to what the world values here. I'm thinking about what has the potential to become a video that millions of people watch. I, I've never been able to attain that before, but remember, my goal is a lot narrower than the things you're articulating. I'll let the ideas do the work themselves. If I can get millions of people to watch it, my work is done. So, yeah, well, I could do that. I could hire somebody to like come over here and work and film and produce type police videos and other concept videos I have, like this one. I don't know how much that would cost. I don't think my willingness to share unconventional thoughts encourages people to share theirs. In fact, I actively discourage it. I say to people, you need to just shut your mouth and listen to what I'm saying and write it down and learn it. So, you know, that's just me, my interface problems. You know, people obviously don't want to be told that. People also probably don't love my general message is you shouldn't vote. You know, those are the sort of things that Eric says that are true, but that people definitely don't want to hear. I mean, it depends how you do your presentation, Neighbor. Like the way I just freestyled that, my earlier example of what the manifesto would sound like. That's NETI. I'd been thinking about it some. I'd put a couple of twos together, and I figured I'd put the other twos together on the fly, you know? So I did. Um, was that a presentation? Yes. Was it a planned presentation? No. Because of my function stack, this is why my actual best event when I was a competition person was not debate, although I did very well in that. It was impromptu speaking, where they give you a topic. You're supposed to have 2 minutes to prepare. You can write down ideas on a note card. I never needed any time to prepare. I never needed any note cards. Maybe I'd write down 3 words on it, like to keep a structure. But I probably wouldn't even look at it. I just get up there and start going with the flow, you know? This is the topic, huh? Well, let me tell you all about this topic. I got a lot of first places in impromptu speaking. For a high school kid, I was pretty funny, I guess. You know, most of my impromptu speeches were funny. I got a lot of laughs. I remember. It was very satisfying. No, I haven't been watching what goes into viral videos lately. And my even though my goal is that, I'm only capable of working towards that goal in ways that I'm going to work towards that goal, or doing what somebody, maybe it was you, suggested, um, hiring somebody who knows what they're doing to do it. Well, I mean, reading in the room when you're speaking live in front of people is critical because it tells you about your pacing and anything else. It tells you when you need to move on and when you need to stay where you, and when you're it's okay to stay where you are. You gotta be reading that the whole time. No, I've never thought that birds aren't real, but I did see that meme in Indianapolis. I was like, what is this? Birds are definitely real. I have a lot of them outside of my house. Most of them are blue jays. Well, sure. Whether you're explaining something, trying to make kind of a pleasant little speech with some jokes in it, or whatever, the critical thing about keeping an audience's attention in any medium is like whether if it's an explanation, it's like I've explained this part enough. Don't become an INTP and start going, and here's a parenthetical, and here's a parenthetical, and don't do that. You can tell when people's eyes start glazing over that you explained the same point in too much depth. And then you move on to a new point. Hopefully, it's got kind of a stark, distinct edge so that it brings people's back attention to something that's a new concept. It's got some fireworks around it so that people's brought back into full attention, and then you explain it just long enough, and then you move on to the next thing, right? If you're doing something live, you can read the room like that. I mean, what I was just describing is basically being a teacher, right? So in a classroom, if you're, and I didn't do a shit ton of lecturing necessarily, but but it's a skill I developed a lot as a classroom teacher, knowing not yet to reading the room is critical. Knowing how long they've been listening to lecture is enough. How long they've been asked to do desk work for is enough. How long you need to give them a little bit of free room to screw around. It's like managing a group of children is it's very much a herding cats kind of exercise. And it's excellent training for reading a room if you have that within your capacity, but it's not at the top. Like for me, third. But I was always good at reading the room because when I was doing humor stuff, even as a kid, I always wanted to be funny. I liked to make jokes, and I hated to make bad jokes and fail. So I was always reading the room for authentic responses to humor. Well, I mean, ultimately, Carlos Paiva, the truth is what makes a viral video is quality and broad appeal. Like, I made a short the other day about Raiders owner Mark Davis's reaction to his coach going for it on fourth down. The TV, they showed the coach make the decision, and they cut to a shot of Mark Davis, and you could clearly see him mouthing, "What an asshole." So I made a short saying, "Is this Mark Davis's response to the Raiders coach going for it on fourth down?" And that recently hit 10,000 views. 100 times bigger than that is a million views. So, of course, that's a short. It's a lot easier to get views with shorts than it is with longs. Right. So when you go into a presentation that's deliberation action, like what I'm talking about doing, well, that's a skill I've been slowly developing over the years with talking with famous people, is understanding the art of reading the room without being able to actually read the room. In other words, knowing how the pacing of something's gonna play. But for me, because I'm unconscious, it's always a bit of a crapshoot. It's also the case that shorts are teaching me, like, do it till you get a good take of it, obviously. Don't try to make something good out of whatever material you have. No, I think that's dumb, Chris Chapin. I think that's what everybody's trying to do, is find a formula that they can repeat that works. I have found that formula in Type Police, but it's it's a it's a high stakes endeavor. People have their identities tied up with this shit. People get very upset, as you see, especially if you get FI Tool in the mix, maybe FI4. I'm not sure what Melissa Talks is, but um, obviously that kind of like virulent response to holding her public statements and stuff accountable to, it's like, it's insane, right? But it's something that's going to happen periodically when you hit upon it, like fi. I mean, like, Melissa Talks response seems much more fi2 than fi4 to me. But I don't know. Obviously, there are particular elements. The point is, yes, if you have a great concept like Type Police, that you can do multiple videos of. It's like if you pace it out one a week or something, have a nice release schedule, release even seasons, do like 13 episodes, one a week, then take 9 weeks off, do another 13 episodes, one a week, or something like that. I mean, well, then you got a show that people continually watch and keep coming back to, and you can build something off of that, right? But but if you make a viral video, like for example, yes, my video about Mark Davis and stuff got 10,000 views, but making that short is predicated on me having the authentic response in real time of like, what the fuck was that? I gotta make a short about this. Otherwise, it's not, it's like without actual NI in place, something that pops, then it's not gonna pop. And there's a little bit of luck in it as well. So, well, I haven't done a lot of uploading of videos, Carlos. Besides which, I think you're still trying to expand the scope of my goal. The scope of my goal here is to get this one manifesto video, you know, is to try to make it to the best of my ability something that's worthy of being viewed millions of times. That's the scope of my goal here. You're displaying continual mission creep. I have feeling third. Well, Carlos, there's something else in the mix here, which is I've had a warning on my channel since 2019. It expires December 20th or something like that. Because I took this, they finally said, okay, if you've got an old warning, you can get it removed if you take this class and you don't get any more action in the 60 days, then it'll drop off your channel in 60 days. So, or maybe it was 90 days, I don't remember. Anyway, I completed that thing and I'm waiting for that warning to drop off. I suspect that it might be possible that when that warning drops off, the channel will see, I guess, if there's any sort of like shadow dampening going on because I have a warning, then one would imagine that dampness would dry up. Manifesto. Well, I tried to articulate it before in a nice summary way. But the gist of it is, I don't want to go into that much detail again, but the gist of it is, the reason we have groupist problems, whether it be racism, sexism, or partisanism, or sectarian violence, or whatever else, is because human beings have an authentic and unquenchable need, until it's actually quenched, need to put people in boxes. But every box that we've ever put people in before is ontologically assaultive because it's wrong. People are not defined by their race, their gender, their age, their ability, blah, blah, all those other things. The wokeists keep harping on. they're correct that they're not defined by those things. But the wokeists typically do dumb things like Greta Gerwig does, which is be the thing she's critiquing. Um, you know, two wrongs don't make a right. If you can't remember that rule, this is Eric's laws of stupidity, right? Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. The point is, cognitive functions provides people an actual box they can put people in that's not ontologically assaultive because it's correct and fair. Therefore, right? To make me have to behave according to your concept of what a man is not fair. To expect me to behave in keeping with what your concept of a man is not fair. To ex- for you to expect me to behave in keeping with your concept of what an old person is not fair. For you to expect me to behave with a correct understanding of what an ENTP is fair. It's fair, and it's also, more importantly, correct. In other words, it's a better way to meet the prime directive, to close the gap between your expectations and realities. Your expectations of me are going to be correct if you're expecting me to behave like things in box ENTP and you understand box ENTP correctly. In other words, all the anger and frustration that people experience from from other people's refusals to stay in their boxes is swept away when people are provided with an actual box, which they need in order to uphold the prime directive. They need to map the future in some way, either by referencing their past experience and just sort of extrapolating forward that future outcomes will be like past results, or with intuition. People need to know before they do anything else, right? And we know on multiple kinds of levels. She should be in a movie where Eric scolds the shit out of her. I mean, you got to remember, Carlos, also, I'm not executing a grand plan here, but I have a small plan. And the worst thing you can do to a small plan is let it get caught under the weight of a grand plan. Because all grand achievements are really small plans executed brilliantly. I mean, what's changed my one theory, drinking alcohol is like trying to drown your feelings, and smoking is like trying to breathe through and process them. Both of those theories are wrong. That would only be for somebody who's FI conscious. I never drank or did drugs to drown my feelings at all. In fact, it's always been the case that I've consumed the least intoxicants when I was in some kind of emotional turmoil. Like when I found out my first wife was cheating on me, it like shocked me into sobriety for like 9 months. I couldn't handle doing intoxicants. After my dad died, I couldn't smoke pot. It would give me like a panic attack. I just had to quit completely for a while. Yeah. Because drugs and alcohol are supposed to be fun for partying, not for when you're sad. Sleeping is for when you're sad. I use my conscious SI instead of my FI to deal with things like that. Sleeping and eating are for when you're sad. Well, and the thing is, we wouldn't know why we're opposite with our cognitive functions. We might say, oh, it's because, I don't know what gender you are, because you're a woman, that you're more emotional than me. You know, and say some stupid ass shit like that, right? That's totally wrong. It has nothing to do with whether you're a woman, old, young, yeah, yeah. It has only to do with your cognitive function stack. Maybe a little bit with Enneagram. Enneagram's like a submap of FI. If you just treat it properly within its domain, it's meaningful in some ways and explanatory in some ways, although not defensible. But people try to do too much with Enneagram type. Yeah, it's the functions. But the thing is, because the world doesn't understand cognitive functions and because the world doesn't have the right box to put a person in, almost everybody will put you in some ontologically assaultive box. You're emotional because you're a woman, or you're emotional because you're just too young to have grown up any, or whatever. Or like, Eric, you're so immature because you're just irresponsible and lack self discipline. Well, I am irresponsible, sort of, and I do lack self discipline. But I'm immature. That's why I'm those things. Not I'm those things. That's why I'm immature. You know, my immaturity comes from the fact that I'm a playing type, okay? I like to play. And I've always liked to play. And I don't really like to work. And that's why I am currently making this live stream because it's more play and less work than making the video that I'm talking about how I should be making that instead of doing this. Well, because that sounds like more work than this does. And when I start feeling this way about work and being all like, oh, I just don't really want to do any kind of even sort of productive play, well, then I start thinking maybe I should get some amphetamines. Next cat down the road. Now that does take some self-discipline because my natural inclination when I see any cat is, oh, kitty. So that does take a little self-discipline on my part. Um, Obviously, that's my natural response anytime I see a cat or a dog is, oh, doggy. Rachel's a little bit more skeptical of the dogs than I am, with good cause. With good cause. She got bit by the neighbor's dog a little bit. um, yeah, it seems like the majority of people are the opposite than I am about the DRUs and the alcohol, which is they use it because they consciously want to medicate their feelings. I guess I used nitrous like that after my dad's suicide, kind of. Right, Ruben R. You're gonna feel sad. I try to avoid anything that makes me feel sad as much as possible. I even do a pretty good job these days of avoiding things that make me mad. Because, like, last night, after I was so mad, I could really feel it in my body afterwards, like this residual adrenaline, post anger, still a little bit madness, you know. I was mad about the Barbie movie. I don't like it. And it's what caused me to make this, to be thinking about this manifesto thing. At some point last night, I said to Rachel, what was that thing the Unabomber made called? And she said manifesto. I said, that's right. That's what I want to make. I want to make a manifesto.
Is the best beat that you ever heard for rapping.
Um, so I got a call, but then they hung up. The perfectly resonant cat came around. You might find yourself in deliberation. The perfectly resonant cat. Well, we've got a couple of both the cats resonate with us just fine, but they don't resonate with each other. This is the risk you take when you have two cats. See, I was mad at the horrible and offensive Barbie movie. But after ranting about it in a most uncivil way on a live stream last night, I deleted that live stream because I don't want to get in trouble with YouTube. And I sort of decided I need to make a calm, clear presentation of these ideas as the presentation of a solution. The correct description of a problem. In other words, why do people keep engaging in groupism? Which is not a question I've ever meaningfully answered before with any answer except because people are stupid. The correct answer is because everybody's subject to the prime directive, which means we need to be able to map forward about people we don't know yet. The problem is we don't have any correct box to use to do that mapping. And so people will continually, forever, use the incorrect box. Once it's explained cogently, clearly, and succinctly, the cognitive functions resolves this by affording everybody the correct box that is non-normative, etc. Then all a person can do is hope the powerfully true, succinctly delivered, concisely expressed concept expressed from a positive tone of solution producement, impact producement. Producement's not a word, but production. Hopefully, I won't say producement in the video. Oh, Eric. Producement. You know, that's all I can do. That's the currency in which I operate, right? If I can tell a powerful truth that's powerfully informative in a novel way, express it concisely, have it apply universally, then all I can do is hope that the words and the thing I come up with has attains enough merit on its own merits for to make people want to go like other people should hear this and share it with other people or whatever, or however people get things get viral. It's probably just YouTube goes, everybody seems to like this a lot. I mean, she wasn't written as a specific type. She was written as this kind of schizophrenic character who was sometimes an imitation of T.I. Tool to all of our detriments, and was most of the time like basically, I guess you'd say, an ESFJ. I mean, the thing is, Barbie is the inevitable mistake that happens when people don't have any correct boxes to put other individuals in. The triumph of civilization is the triumph of individualism, of empowering ever more individuals to be individuals and not be constrained to members of a certain group that's arbitrarily assigned. Yeah, it is horrible, Carlos Paiva. It's the perfect example of a confused ENFP thinking her hypocrisy can be mitigated by hanging a lantern on it. And I the litany of mistakes. The longer I thought about it, the more I'm just like, oh my god, somebody needs to explain why that movie is so fucking horrible. Well, when Eric thinks somebody needs to explain something, he also usually thinks that somebody is he. In this case, I. Produce some more. Yeah. To be more fancy, I use the French bird. That's why I'm constantly saying things like joie de vivre. Joie to what now? No, I think Rachel nailed it right at the gate when she said, I think that lady, Greta Gerwig, is an ENFP. I think so too. It is so full of hypocrisy, contradictory messages. No, it's not for 5-year old little girls. It's intended to be a somehow scathing critique of patriarchy that just ends up committing endless reification fallacies, is guilty of the same things it's accusing this made up boogeyman called the patriarchy of doing. It's just insanely bad. And his basic message is the response to the injustices continually faced by all the Kens simply because they're male that makes it all okay is that Barbie grows. I mean, the patriarchy was never a thing, right? It's like, yeah, there were plenty of codified patriarchies throughout history, but the idea that the patriarchy in general, no, we're not blowing up Barbie Unabomber style. No, no. My manifesto is not the insane kind of manifesto. It's the kind of manifesto that people go, wow, he's right. He makes so much sense. This is the end to all groupism. I now know that I have a prime directive. I must have a box to put people in, and the only way I'll ever be satisfied and it'll really attain upholding my prime directive is if I have the correct box to put them in. Well, sure, you could call it a patriarchy. The thing is, it was the way things were, right? Why were they that way? Well, it wasn't because men got together and said, "Hey, let's oppress the women," you know? It's because it emerged from a bunch of natural situational life things that were linked to um, who got pregnant and gave birth and was required to raise children for bits of time and stuff like that. It emerged in an agrarian society in which work roles had to be divided, and the best and fairest way to divide them usually was for the man to go do the plowing and shit, and for the woman to do the cooking and other stuff like that. After all, she might be breastfeeding one of their 8 children that they needed to have to work the fields. So it's like when you recognize that there is an authentic origin to what ended up being codified as bullshit, and you realize that the reason it was bullshit to codify it was because it denied the individual humanness of each individual human being, as do all those other group labels, right? So the thing is, prior to it being codified, it was just the way things were. Once it was codified, it was individuals who were choosing to codify something, probably because they were TE DOMs, right? And there were other individuals who were saying, this is wrong, we shouldn't do it this way, because they were Eric and people didn't listen to them. I get pregnant pretty much every night over the night, and then I have to poo it out in the morning. So the thing is, yes, we had we had society structured unfairly, but it was structured unfairly for the same reason every other such bullshit group label stuff is unfair, because it fails to treat individual human beings as individual human beings first. But what I've come to realize is it's also completely ridiculous and unreasonable for me to think that people shouldn't have some box that they can put people in to understand them b- beyond the scope of their own experience. In order to meet the prime directive to close the gap between expectations and reality, human beings are a huge part of reality for every other human being, right? So we need to have some means of knowing about an individual human being in our life that's in a peripheral way in our life, but still more than just one meeting or something that is informative to us. People want to know that their maps are correct, and so then they use confirmation bias to confirm that their stupid dislike of Mia group is correct, because here's another story about someone from Mia group doing Mia, right? Which they then seek out to confirm their bias. Why? Because the prime directive requires them to get map and reality to line up as closely as possible. And that's a terrible way to do it, because you're trying to force reality to line up with a map that's wrong. The correct way, if you want to map some other person, is to know their personality type and to correctly know what that means. So you can successfully expect me to behave like an ENTP in a variety of ways, and your map will be correct over and over again. You put me in a box, you've summed me up, you understand me, you can predict me correctly, and everybody's happy. You get to hate this group or that group all you want, but you hate them for the right reasons. And it's fair. You hate, if you want to hate all ESFPs, you're going to hate a complete mix of people: black, white, yellow, disabled, able, deaf, hearing, sighted, blind, a whole mix of fucking people, right? There's no, and so it makes it pretty hard to have things like sectarian violence and racism and other things because you can't tell at a glance what type somebody is. Although people's instincts about that are very good. Like sometimes people just, I don't like that person. They don't know why, but I know why if I know the two types. You want to hear my thoughts on Israel Palestine? Would you like to hear a joke about Israel Palestine that I made up yesterday? I'll tell it to you, whether you want to hear it or not. So, a rabbi, a nun, and Hamas walk into a bar that's holding a musical festival. And the nun says, let's have Hamas choose the punchline. So that's my joke. My thoughts on Israel Palestine are as simple as follows. You're not going to get any sympathy from anybody by attacking and killing civilians on purpose. And that includes me. Even though you may be, in some regard, in the right historically, politically, and I mean, it's hard to dispute that they are, the Palestinians. They've got good cause to complain. But if they don't live by the rule that two wrongs don't make a right, that makes them toxically stupid. And you're not going to get any sympathy from me if you're toxically stupid. Eric's 3 laws of toxic stupidity. Okay, show media. You earned it. You get a wonder point. You get a wonder point because of your joke. Two ASFPs walk into a bar and Ruben R pours them a drink on their lap. It's such a dumb, silly joke that you get a wonder point for it. I mean, if you can't appreciate a dumb, silly joke like that, then you just don't have any sense of humor. That's an excellent dumb, silly joke. It's like if you wanted a dictionary definition of a good, dumb, silly joke, that would be it. Now, it's true I'm not wearing modesty pants right now, but I am wearing boxers, not my hugs. So if you catch a sight or two of those, I think that's okay. And I tell you what I'm going to do to prevent any accidental schlong flop outaging. I'm going to go put on some modesty pants right now. What do you think? I'm clad in modesty pants, just like all of the best professionals. Now there's a man you should listen to. He's donned modesty pants. Before, when he was in his boxers, I was skeptical. See, that's going to be important for our manifesto, right? If I'm going to do it right, I'm going to have to dress not in boxers in this dumb purple jacket. Okay, I admit, this purple jacket is done. They're not modern pants, they're modesty pants, okay? Because they cover my legs over with their longness. Side picking has hit a new low with this. What's side picking? Is that a term that refers to showing the side of your body or something? I'm very curious about side picking. Can I get into side picking? What is side picking? When did side picking become a thing? Etc. Is side picking just like this? Am I side picking right now? I was. Now I'm front picking. Do they use that? Those terms? Back picking? Am I back picking now? Ew. Ew. Isn't that a coquettish look? Looking over your shoulder back at the camera. Ew, you've caught me walking away. Are you looking at me? Ew. It's an imitation of girls. Stop being such a misogynist, Eric. Sorry. I mean, I can't pick any group label now. If I can only use fucking group labels. Well, look, I'm not saying there's no difference between men and women. I'm just saying those differences are irrelevant in how you should deal with each individual human being. And making up stories about how, like, you know, chicks are like lobsters. Oh, yeah, women are a lot like lobsters. Whatever Jordan Peterson's saying. That's just, it's like, why are you doing that? What possible good are you going to do with those stories? You're never going to go up to a woman and say, listen, the reason you're like you are is because you're like a lobster. If so, why? Waterproof gussets. What are gussets? Sounds like mix between garlic and russet potatoes. A plant that has the quality of both garlic and the potato. That'd be an interesting plant. I guess I didn't bring my glasses with me. I can still read it. You know, it helps to be well rested. I'll probably do again today what I did yesterday, which is take a mid-morning nap, then wake up after that. Patarlik. Patarlik is a good name for potato garlic. Really, though, the garlic industry would probably object. Because really, it would just be the potato industry trying to say, you don't need to buy garlic too. You can just buy potatoes now because they're Patarliks. The garlic industry would be in an uproar. Those Patarliks aren't really garlicky enough. They'd make like ultra garlicky Patarliks. And people would say, you know what? I want more amount of control over my distribution of garlic and potato. So I'll get them separately. And Patarliks would say, no, wait, we'll make like 10 different shades of Patarlik for you to choose from. And then the battle just continues on until eventually there are thousands of shades of Patarlik. At the top end, it's just a big garlic that's the shape of a potato. And the bottom end is just a regular potato. So, and in between there are 1,000 shades of Patarlik. 1,000 shades of Patarlik is a great name for something. Quit shading my Patarlik. Are you throwing shade about your Patarlik? No. I'm just picking a shade of Patarlik. Oh, okay. What are you going with? I'm going with Some Enchanted Evening. Ooh, I like that one. It's right around the 600 range. And then later this day, instead of making his manifesto, Eric makes a video about Patarlik. No, I won't be making a video about Patarlik, but that's the sort of thing I do. You know what I was going to do is a really good idea, but I want to do this really dumb idea. That's a very Eric-y move. Is Patarlik a member of the nightshade family? Oh. So it was actually bred out of eggplants, huh? It's interesting that they managed to make Patarlik out of eggplants. Oh, those horticulturalists are really making a lot of progress these days. You know, you don't naturally get to use the word horticulturalist very much in your daily conversation. So I'm glad today afforded me that opportunity. Imagine the amount of Irish vampires you genocide. Gruntcore, you just earned a wonder point. Bam. You earned it with that very clever joke. Okay? That joke earns the rating very clever. Did you? It's probably because you were quoting Dorothy Parker, who once famously said, "You can lead a horticulture, but you can't make her think." I'm sure that Irish vampires will have very mixed feelings about the coming Patarlik famine. That's a pretty good stand-up comedy joke, you know, Gruntcore. You go, yeah, in my free time, I'm a horticulturalist. I recently crossed garlic and potatoes. I was about to release this new hybrid onto the market, but I realized basically it amounts to genocide of Irish vampires. You're wearing jeans with a big hole on the undercrotch, but no one's going to see unless I'm positioned a certain way. And I'm sure you're very aware of how you're positioned. It's a true story. What did you get in a fight with him about? Like, I say this is a tiger lily. No, I say it's a lion lily. Thanks, Gruntcore. Thank you. Thank you. Well, after all, it wasn't my joke. So, your farm is going to have catnip growing all the way around the perimeter. Wow. If you listen to Men Like Gods, you should make tea out of the catnip and it'll help you go to sleep. Winston's mom ordered some catnip in order to make tea out of herself. She's going to test it and report back as to whether it works or not. It's harder for me to be aware of camera positioning when I'm doing it vertically because I'm not as accustomed to that approach to live streaming, you know. But nevertheless, it is the case that miggity meow. So let's talk a little bit now about today's anime schedule. I've already watched before I started streaming. I watched Doctor Stone, new episode, and I watched My Daughter Left the Nest and Returned an S Rank Adventurer, episode 3. I currently have on queue The Ancient Magus' Bride, season 2, episode 14, which I'm looking forward to watching, although it's starting off in a depressing fashion, which is why I stopped watching it. Now let's look at the release schedule. Okay. Ancient Magus' Bride, The Yuzuki Family's Four Sons, episode 2. I didn't watch episode 1 of that, but I might start watching that. Ah, there it is. There it is. It just came out. Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2, Episode 36. This is the only possible response to that. I'm very excited about that. I think that might be basically it for the day, although I think there's one more. The Dr. Stone was a surprise to me. I wasn't anticipating that one today. I wasn't anticipating that at all. I'd forgotten about it. That they started a new season of it. I think they skipped a week or something. I'm not sure. But let's look. Today is Thursday. Okay, the new episode of Under Ninja comes out today. The first episode of Under Ninja was quite good. I enjoyed it. The second episode of the second episode of Under Ninja comes out at 10:45. At 11 a.m., episode 14 of Rurouni Kenshin comes out. Rurouni Kenshin is quite good. I highly recommend it to anybody. And then that's it for the day. Wow. Okay, at 5 p.m., Uma Musumi Pretty Derby Season 3, Episode 1 comes out. I did watch some of Pretty Derby Season 1. It's the most girliest cartoon ever. It's about these girls who are also racehorses that are also like beauty contestants or something. It's ridiculous. But hearing myself describe it again now makes me want to maybe watch some more of it. It's definitely Sparklecore. And I wouldn't say that Sparklecore is my favorite subgenre of anime, but it's not my least favorite either. And it's true, BT Dub. I've got one cat of my own and a foster, plus two neighbor cats are regulars with another couple I see every now and then. Well, Lou, let me just tell you this right now. That black and white cat is not welcome around here. He or she needs to shoo away. So I will shoo that cat till the end of time. I think part of the reason it wants to come over here so much is that we put out the woodland cutlets for the woodland friends, and it's like, oh, I'm going to attack the woodland friends. Well, I don't want you around here. I already got two cats attacking woodland friends. You cats just need to leave everybody alone instead of stop being such dicks all the time. I mean, stop being such dicks all the time. Not instead of stop being such dicks all the time. Yes, there are bobcats around. We saw them on our first and second trip to Mariposa, and then I saw prints of them in the snow last winter. But those are the only occasions that we've actually seen indications of them. There are probably even a few mountain lions around. Oh, yes, he will, cat down the road. I'm pretty sure that cat's not a stray. I think it's the neighbor's cat. And of course, we feed our cats all the food they want, and they still kill as many things as they possibly can. It's ridiculous. Oh, the cat won over the rattlesnake? That's good. It would be a sad video if it were the other way around. Still kind of a sad video. Two sets of prints or one? Because if it was one set of prints, that's from when Jesus carried the bobcat. No, Ruben. When it's one set of prints, that's when you are carrying Jesus. And the reason you need to carry Jesus is because, obviously, he has holes in his feet. You do not. And that's one to grow on. And the reason you carry Jesus is because it's the least you can do. He's forgiving you for all of your sins and everything. At least give the man a piggyback ride, for fuck's sake. Right? It just seems fair. Yeah, you must not have been here. I went over this actually the other day. the fact that when there's one set of prints in the sand, it's you carrying Jesus, because otherwise sand gets in the holes in his feet and it's very uncomfortable. And he doesn't weigh very much because if you've ever seen those things of him on the cross, he's just skin and bones. And after he rose from the dead, it's not like he got fat again. Okay. After you die, you don't put the weight back on. That's one of the rules for death. It makes a lot of people in the contemporary world happy because they care a lot about that stuff, you know. If it were one set of bloody prints, though, probably Jesus is having to carry you, you lazy fuck. I'm tired of walking. All right, let me trudge forward on my bloody feet while giving you a piggyback ride. Thanks, Jesus. Well, yet another sin I have to forgive. You and your selfishness. There you go, Boba Fett. I like how you repurposed your incorrect thing into a correct thing. If you could just have skipped the middle one, just added at the end of the first statement before you put it, cat one, of course, then you just put right there, Rattler 0, but spelled out the word 0. That would have been very slick and nobody would have even known you had fucked it up, you know. So keep that in mind next time, Buffett. You could have gotten away with it completely if you had just been a split second faster. All right, well, I guess I'm gonna watch Jujutsu Kaisen. Even though I know Rachel likes that one. She'd probably like to watch it with me. Well, she doesn't really like to watch it with me anyway. It's like, even when it's an anime or whatever that she likes, by and large, she'll just be on her phone during it anyway. So, Jujutsu Kaisen. Jujutsu Kaisen. It's about some jujutsu sorcerers having fights and using Japanese magic throughout. Yeah. Atakimasu. Get with the program, Boba Fett. Jujutsu Kaisen, obviously. OBS. OBVS. Don't you know anything about anything? I met this guy the other day, and he didn't even know anything about Jujutsu Kaisen. No, it's spelled it's spelled Jujutsu. Jujutsu. And then Kaizen spelled like Machete spelled it. Jujutsu. Jujutsu. No, you need to eat a Patarlik. Yeah, it does. Well, it sounds a little bit like Kaiser. Sun Tzu. He's probably either a ENFJ. He's probably an ENFJ. It's a very FE kind of take on warfare. Understand your enemy, not more than the battlefield, you know? Understanding your enemy is the best way to understand the battlefield. It's very ENFJ. And he's super NI, so. Well, yeah, that's an FE interface frame. Instead of being the alternative way to do the art of war would be all about if if you're attacking up from the bottom of a hill up a hill and you need to take the top of a hill, you need to do this kind of flanking maneuver, meh, 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 right? That's the art of war from a TE perspective. The art of war from an FE perspective is know your enemy, behave in accordance with who your enemy is, what they want, why they want it, what's important to them, and presumes a lot of universal things, which are also cultural things like face being significant in the equation. Like an American TE dumb, war book writer isn't going to be addressing that shit at all. They're going to be isolating the battle tactics and stuff from who the enemy is, except in terms of what kind of equipment they have, you know. Potamarlik, which is 1/3 potato, 1/3 tomato, 1/3 garlic, is the next big hit on the scene after Patarlik. Until eventually you have a single thing that's combined all the vegetables. And then you just go to the produce section. They just have a big bin of this one thing. Right. Well, that's largely always been the case, Boba Fett. In some ways, things are more fair now than they've ever been before, but you still have to take a very much of a realism perspective to understanding interactions between nation states and proto nation states or pseudo, various things like Yeah. He said, hey, I got work I should do instead of this. This really resonates with me. I need to put something off too. Oh, okay. Well, good for you, Kay. I'm so proud of you. You finally graduated from ENTP to ENTJ. High five. Pew. Right now, KE, we're talking yeah, the natural evolution of things. I agree, Kay. Yeah. I'm just really slow in getting there. That's all. I'm just bad at making my change, breaking out of my chrysalis and becoming a TE Dom. It's a lack of self discipline mostly to blame. Sweet Batarla, kiss my grits. Well, I'm still waiting to become the final evolution of Charizard. Self discipline is overrated, KE. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pull a bong rip as a cheers to that notion. You know what I like to sometimes say about self discipline? Self discipline, schmelf discipline. Shame and guilt are the best TE shortcut. That's the best SE shortcut, KE. So it makes you actually SE. And sometimes the SE involves TE and stuff. Shame is my shadow, goes with me everywhere. Shame is my shadow, behind my derriere. It keeps me humble and shivering forth as memories bring back my course of failure, where long ago or yesterday I paid the fool. The Shame Shivers song. Kind of an old Negro spiritual. If you love Negro spirituals, like I love Negro spirituals, then perhaps you'll enjoy my new album, Eric Sings Negro Spirituals. What are you doing, Eric? I'm going to the bathroom. It's the room where I can sit down periodically, look around, put my feet up on this little ladder that I brought in here as a footstool, and relaxedly go pee, as I am right now. But I'm hopeful to poo, and you guys thus far have failed to have an adequately laxative effect. But I'm gonna make an effort to poo anyway, even though it's not like fall out of my butt ready. I'm gonna pretend I'm in labor and following those classic instructions that we've all seen in TV and movies. Push. Breathe and push. That's how you give birth. Breathe, breathe. That's how they do it in the movies. It's like, you keep breathing like that, lady, you're going to hyperventilate. I like to breathe and I like to push. What am I doing and who am I what? You're a pregnant lady giving birth. Correct. Or you're Eric going poo. We also accept that as a correct answer. Things that like to breathe and push. Well, I'm happy to report that I've attained some success in the area of pooing, but I think the job's not done yet. Let me give it a second. Push. A second push. That's how you do it, Boba Fett. Say you should have done that thing that you did wrong. Remember that thing we were talking about? Isn't that cool callback? How I was able to do that thing and then call that thing back. That's pretty cool. If I were allowed by the TWFP Corporation to receive Wonder Points, I might well give myself a Wonder Point for that. But I've given them to myself before, but then the company told me that they're not valid. I can't cash them in. I can't use them. So I had to turn them over to the shredding department, and they disposed of them. Yes, Talking to Finish People has a whole department devoted to shredding. That's how much we have shredding to do. It's a small department. You know, there's a manager with an assistant manager and 13 people working underneath them. 13 other people. So it's a department of 15 people. The thing is, the reason it needs to be that big is they don't just shred paper. They also metaphysically shred things that were spoken that you wish you didn't say. And it takes them a long time to watch all those videos to find those things that need to be shredded. Then, of course, there's the reality that metaphysically shredding them doesn't do anything. So we've got that team working on a solution for that right now. So there, I just revealed a lot of the inner corporate secrets of TWFP. Fingers crossed that I get a call from the CEO about it, you know. Eric, you cannot talk publicly about a company business like that. Sorry. I just thought it was, I don't care what you thought it was. Okay, all right, my bad. I won't do it again. You better not. Okay, I won't. Well, guys, thank you so much for making me poo. That was really helpful. I really needed that poo. Fall out of your butt ready. Right. Well, that's where one wants your poop to be. That's true. None of the coats on those knobs are mine. They're all Rachel's coats. And I sometimes remember to put a coat there, but then I just end up taking it up and throwing it on the floor in my room as usual. And then I think, I should hang some coats there too. That's a smart thing. But, she just starts hanging her stuff there because I don't ever hang anything there. So but I'm not afraid to put a coat over one of her coats. So, you know, I don't feel like she's monopolizing the pegs. There are also other pegs in other places where I can hang coats, like in each of the bathrooms. I end up hanging them in the bad places. And I go, where's my jacket? Where are my cigarettes? It's probably in my jacket. Well, where's my jacket? I don't know where it is. It's not on the floor. Where is it? It's not on the chair. Oh, I'll never find it now. That's my normal way of being. Okay, I'm going to wrap this up and do something else for a while. I'll probably be streaming again later. We'll see how I feel. Yeah. Anyway, I'll wrap it up now. I'll think about other things. I'll think about other things while I'm done, after I'm done the live stream. So, anyway, goodbye for now. See you later. Bye.